Hello artist. So today I'm going to show you the first step to making your John James Audubon inspired birds if you choose. I strongly recommend giving this project a whirl. It's really, they turn out really beautiful. It does take a couple days, so I'm going to go a little bit quick to show you. So what you're going to need to start today is to find, or I should say borrow, one of my bird pictures. You have two choices. I'll explain what that means in a second. You're also going to get one piece of metal. You only get the one, so please treat it kindly, because if you squish it up, then it's going to create all of the texture that you might not want. And this one's kind of neat because there's two different sides, but you don't have to choose right now. So it's smaller than the picture I found. If I wanted to, for example, do both of these birds, maybe it'd be a good idea to trace this piece of metal on a piece of paper so that I can draw the birds smaller so that they would both fit on here. I'm going to skip the hand drawing step just for sake of time, but again, you can make it more wild or whatnot. So what I'm going to do though is I'm just going to end up tracing the male cardinal, and I'm going to lay it on my metal and kind of assess where I think it should be. I'm going to shift mine over so I could put more of his tail, I think, on. Again, you kind of have to think, work smart, not hard, right? Then before I do anything else, you're going to need a piece of tape to stick it all together. This is a brand new roll, folks, so let's see if I can find the edge or if I get frustrated and find a different piece of tape. Oh, I found it. Okay. Remember, masking tape you don't need to cut. You just can rip it like you're tearing paper. All right, and again, I do want these pictures back because other artists would like them. But if you don't finish today, then you'll just store the whole thing in your folder and then finish in the next art class. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a wood, one of those wood styluses, to trace this, but other options are pencils. That works fine too, especially ones that are kind of broken, because it'll damage the tip when you're pressing. I do want to point out something. It will only work. So I'm going to press in here and it's going to dent the foil, the metal. You need to have something soft under your metal. If you have the table, then there's nowhere to dent because the hard surface is right underneath. So you can either use a painter's towel or a magazine, either one, no problem. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tracing my cardinal, kind of going back and forth, and I'm pressing pretty hard. Obviously not hard enough that I'm going to break the stick, but pretty hard nonetheless. Going around the major parts of his body. Can't remember if I did the beak or not already. I'm going to go around the inside of the beak. The line that divides the top half of the beak from the bottom. For the cardinal, I need to go around this black, I don't know, decoration, part of his body. Don't forget the legs. And so that he doesn't look like he's standing in space, I'm going to go ahead and add this thing. Did I add the tail? I can't remember. I'm going to continue on the tail. All right, and I know you can't really see anything that I just did. So I'm going to go ahead and lift it off. And I'm done with this. I don't need it anymore. So I can go ahead and place it back for anybody else who might like to use it. All right, so you might be able to see the indentations of the cardinal, and you might not. Something that you could do is leave the tape there and, check it every once in a while. All right, so what I'm going to do though is after you trace it once, take the picture off, and then guess what, folks? Trace it again, because you might be able to see that indentation that I just made is so much richer. So I'm not going to finish doing my second time denting right now because you don't need to see me do that whole thing. And there's more steps to learn. Okay. So once you're finished and it's really dented, then you need to add a few more bits to make this more interesting. One thing is I'm going to add some feathers. To do that though, I'm actually going to flip it over. And again, remember, you could choose this side to color, but I like the colors with the silver. When you start using the colored Sharpies, they blend better. Anyway, back to the feathers. I flipped it over, and I'm going to add, think about where you do this. I'm going to add some upside down belly feathers. I'm not going to do this on the wing because I think that would be confusing. Let me look at my picture again. You can't really see his wing, but I do know he's got one there, so I might go ahead and lightly put it in. Since I can see it enough, I can draw it. Draw what you see, not what you know. If you don't see it, don't draw it. Anyway, I do see the wing a little bit. So I'm making upside down U shapes just to add a little something something. I could add a little texture to his hair, maybe a few little dot things. His hair is mohawk, whatever. All right, so again, some of it now is dented in, and then some of it is raised because I dented it the other way. So there's one more trick I want to show you before we move on. Texture rubbing plates. So I have these plates that you can choose. You want to use one that's very textury, like very high, not a low one. And I'm going to go ahead, and you can decide either way. I'm going to go ahead and put this on here. Oh, I forgot to mention this metal, it can cut you. It is metal. So I'm being very cautious about how I pick it up because those are sharp. All right, so even when it's in your folder, everything, be careful. Especially this next part I'm about to show you. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to rub it out to create that texture on this plate. Do not rub this way. If you rub this way onto the metal, that's where you could get hurt. So try to make it really still, and you definitely have to use some muscles because it is a little hard to press. And I'm going right off, again, being conscious of what I'm doing so I don't get hurt. All right, it almost looks like there's a sun behind him. Okay, so again, I know that this might be difficult to see fully, but tomorrow or in the next art class, I'm going to show you how you could start adding all of that color. All right, folks, happy arting today.